Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the YT-2400 light freighter, also known as the YT-2400 transport. This was known as the YT series light freighter during the Imperial era. This model of freighter was used by both the Galactic Empire and the Rebel Alliance to restore the Republic. The YT-2400 also saw use under cargo haulers and pirates alike. So we do have a little bit of a history from this. Um, the YT-2400 light freighter was a stock cargo hauler produced by the Corellian Engineering Corporation (CEC) as part of their YT series line of starships. The 2400 had the same basic disc-shaped hull most YT series had, but was set apart by its tubular cockpit that was connected to the hull by two starboard bracing arms. Behind the cockpit was the ship's main escape pod, capable of ferrying six passengers opposite of the primary escape pod, and inside the YT-2400's cargo area was the secondary escape pod. The YT-2400's hull was protected by reinforced bulkhead frames and double armored plating. The freighter was 18.65 meters in length and 28.5 meters in width. Despite sharing many parts with the CEC YT-1300 freighter, the 2400 was more compact and maneuverable. It could easily be operated by a single pilot. Armament: the YT-2400 light freighter came equipped with a dual laser cannon mounted on the Corellian 1D servo turret. The freighter was armed with two of these units, one dorsal and one ventral. The 2400 also saw um, 13 weapon emplacement points built in for ease of modification. The stock configuration used six of these emplacements, leaving seven free. Speed and energy: the 2400 light freighter could reach atmospheric speeds up to 800 kilometers per hour. The freighter came with a Class 2 hyperdrive and a Class 12 backup hyperdrive, both backed by a Nava computer. The standard 2400 was equipped with a deflector shield. Powering the freighter was the power core that output nearly twice the amount of other YT models. This extra energy allowed for the oversized engines and additional modifications. Storage and capacity: the 2400 light freighter was manned by a crew of three and had room for six passengers. Crew quarters and living areas were located within the ship's bracing arms, not as spacious as other YT series models. The 2400 made up for this with an ease of modification and extra cargo space, being able to haul 150 metric tons worth. The new YT 2400 light freighter was worth about 130,000 credits. While used, it was at 32,000 credits. So, going from the role, the 24 series light freighter was a compact ship used for hauling cargo and the transportation of troops. Our history right up here states that the 2400 light freighter was developed and produced by the Corellian Engineering Corporation, promoted uh, promo- uh, promoted their YT 2400 as having the best features of the YT 1300 light freighter in a smaller, more compact design. Upon release, the CEC noted that customers preferred their wide bar engine polarized by the YT 1300, which the YT 1400 or 2400, lacked. Although the CEC did not offer cylindrical engines as a standard option for the YT 2400, they did authorize the release of modification kits that enabled the installation of cylindrical engines. After unveiling the 2400, the CEC discontinued the YT 12 or 2000 transport model early despite its good sales. I'm getting kind of mixed up here on, on some of the specifications, and I'm sorry. All right, so for the Imperial era, unidentified freighter. This is the freighter stock, uh, freighter Slipknot. Looks like you're scorching out of here. Need any assistance? Ensign El Vianto aboard the Slipknot, contacting Novell Cygni Nomad ship. All right. During the Botan insurgency in the age of the Galactic Empire, Imperial Admiral Thrawn and Ensign Eli Vanto used a YT-2400 freighter known as the Slipknot to pose as weapons smugglers in order to board Novell Cygni's Nomad starship. The freighter was destroyed when the pair needed a distraction to escape the Nomad ship. Early rebellion against the Galactic Empire. Um, let's see. Ship needs a little work. Try not to touch anything. It's organized the way I like it. If you like a pile of junk. Sabine Wren and Guti Terez aboard a YT-2400 light freighter Satos Hammer. The Wookiee Lagora captained a YT-2400 light freighter known as the Mighty Oak Apocalypse, often referred to as MOA in 3BBY. Lagora agreed to transport apprentice legislators. I'm going to try this one. It's not going to be easy. Millen Holo and Leia Organa aboard the MOA on the planet Harmith. I'm having a hard time with this one. I do apologize. Uh, Lagara and the MOA would later join the Rebel Alliance fleet during the Galactic Civil War. A rebel cell known as the Iron Squadron used YT-2400 freighter Satos Hammer as their home base, once belonging to the famed Jun Sato. The dilapidated ship served the young rebels when it helped them damage the Imperial cruiser. Iron Squadron leader Mart Maten would later use Sato's hammer to leave the rebellion before eventually deciding to rejoin the Iron Squadron. All right, during the Galactic Civil War, so we've had a couple instances of this, um, and I think this is the one that I am more familiar with. Okay, a YT-2400 light freighter known as the Outrider, which is where we originally got to see this ship, operated during the time of the Galactic Civil War in 0BBY. The Outrider left Mos Eisley on Tatooine. The YT-2400 light freighter was held by the Galactic Empire in the Imperial Impound Yard on Novka. During the rebel attack on the impound yard, the freighter was stolen by Tula Markama. Rebel mercenary Snapoza and his associate used at least one YT-2400 light freighter to transport troops to and from Sapoza's homeset. A YT-2400 light freighter was present during the Battle of Hoth in 5 ABY. Imperial defector uh, Razalus Palda claimed that a YT-1300 light freighter's hyperdrive failed 1.22 more times than the YT-2400's. While on an Entropian Hive, New Republic pilot Eureka Oral, or Qual, something like that, witnessed a YT-2400 leaving the asteroid base. Quell likened the dented starship to one her mother had flown. Later history, in 35 ABY, the YT-2400 light freighter or light freighters were part of the fleet assembled by Lando Calrissian to assist the resistance during the battle against the Sith and Eternal forces over the planet Exegol. Okay, getting down to the basics, I'm not going to read the rest of this. Honestly, the Outrider was the original YT-2400 piloted by Dash Rendar. Um, he is the reason, and him and Han Solo had a kind of friendly kind of banter that went back and forth in a video game series and in the novelization Heir to the Empire. Um, is, I believe, where we got this all from. Um, and it was believed that Dash Rendar had died in helping the Rebel Alliance. So when we bring this into the Star Wars universe and we look at it in the role playing game sense, this is a general alignment because, as we have seen, it's been used by the Empire, it's been used by the Rebel Alliance, it's been used by pirates, been used by just honest to goodness, regular, everyday freighter captains. So it's been used back and forth by pretty much everyone. This is a light freighter. It has a length of 21 meters. Remember, this is the length, not the width. It has a crew of 2. You can run this with a skeleton crew of 1, but we do have a plus 10 to all of our skill checks. We can carry about 4 passengers, so this is a little different from what the write-up had, and had a cargo capacity of 100 metric tons. Now, things change here throughout the years. So I think basic wise, I think it did have the 100 metric tons, but then things changed along the way, and we did give it 150 metric tons because I know in one of the books it does have it listed for 150 metric tons as well. And that's what our write up had had. So we have a cost of 125,000 credits brand new and 45,000 credits used. This is different from what the write up had said on the Wikipedia. And I do want to say that I think the Pirates and Privateers have it a little bit more. Um, I'm thinking that this is from the Essential Guide of Vehicles and Vessels, which is from the Wizards of the Coast and not from West End Games. Hyperdrive, they have this as a ×1. Now, this sounds more like what Dash Rendar had and a hyperdrive of ×10. So, again, I'm thinking that this is more of the Dash Rendar version of it, the Outrider, and less of the basic, because the base unit, from what I remember, only had, much like the base YT 1300 series, one blaster can or yeah, one laser cannon or so. Um, it had the had the structure in order to put more weapon systems on there, but it did not actually have them on there at the beginning of its manufacturing. Okay, so this does have a has a nav computer maneuverability of 1D plus 2, which seems a little off from what they were saying, being a little bit more maneuverable than the standard YT 1300. Has a space speed of 6, an atmosphere speed of 950 kilometers an hour, a hull of 5, which does sound about right, and a shields of 2D. Now our passive or our sensors, passively we can scan 2.5 kilometers out at a plus 1D to our skill roll. We can do an active scan out to 5 kilometers with a plus 2D to our skill roll. We can do a search out to 7.5 kilometers with a plus 2D plus 2. And our focus is only 300 meters at a plus 3D to our skill roll. Our weapons are heavy double laser cannons. It is turreted, and let's see, we have a fire controller 1D plus 2, so it's not as good as what some of them are, um, and it does 5D damage. Now, this is one of the funny things, and you'll see this whenever we get around to the YT 1300. There are a ton of different variations on how everything is laid out here. So as we look at our first schematic, we do have our um, cockpit and all the way over on our right side, and we have 4 chairs in there, which is pretty standard. And all the way at the back, we do have our escape pod, our primary escape pod. Um, and here we have a boarding ramp or a ramp going over to the rest of the ship. This layout actually has our cargo in the front, and going all the way over, we have some basic bunks and uh, like a sofa and that, very similar as to what we see on the YT 1300 Millennium Falcon sitting there. But when we scroll down, and this is another one of those that's actually out of Westing Games, out of the books. So here we have our cockpit is in here. We have our hatch to go up. So if you're docked to another ship, that's your hatch that you're going to go between ships. There's our escape pod. And then we start going into our captain's. 3 here is our captain's quarters. 4 is our first mate's quarters. 18 is our storage locker. 5, we have a second mate's quarters. So there's our crew of 3. And then we're going to have our cargo capacity, and we are going to have some rooms here. These are going to be double bunks for our passengers, as well as 16 and 17. If we scroll down here, I believe this is engine room and machine shop with a escape pod over here. 7 and 8, as we look at that, we have a galley and the head. So 7's our galley, 8 is the head, with 9 being a refresher. And then we do have our 2 cargo bays. So we have our 100-ton in 11 and another 50-ton in 12. Now 10 is our entry into our turrets. We have our top and bottom turrets there. Whether we actually have cannons on there or not. And we kind of go on from there. So we do have a wide variety of different layouts for this. I really like how this one is done. I think this is a nice view of this. This is actually one done from Westing Games. This one was done by somebody else, and this is the one that was listed in the book. I'm thinking that this is more from Wizards of the Coast when they were doing it. It was their reimagining of the ship. So do keep well in mind where we're getting information from and all that. Like I said, I don't think that these are the truest stats. Um, as everybody's trying to come up with things, and even with the YT 1300, things change. The layout, just for what they're saying for the Millennium Falcon, has changed over the years. Um, so you could have one person's version of it compared to another person's version. Um, and there again, if you're seeing that this is another modified version, and we're taking up room internally for the engines, here this one might only have room for 4 people. These are double bunks, but we don't have um, on our front arm here. Um, we have our front arm that you see here, and we see a layout. We don't have a cabin area or something in there, um, which should probably be present, and this should kind of come out a little bit more as well. But, you know, as one person's taking it and doing it and another person does it their way or whatever. I'm not going to argue anyway how you want to do it. It is a beautiful thing, and they talk about a lot of these ships can be done in a modular design to be able to make it more of what that individual really needs. So, keeping all that in mind, sometimes we have the ships laid out differently. Maybe one person wants it to go faster, and they're taking up more room on the engines, and someone else is doing it differently. We have different versions that are cutaways, so they're taking away from the internal, so it can change from very personal variation to personal variation. So um, with that, it's an interesting ship. This has been displayed a couple different times. It's been brought into different novelizations. I do believe if you look in the background, you will see um, one of these leaving Mos Eisley in one of the episodes. Uh, I want to say episode 2, just like we also see a YT 1300 flying in, I believe, on episode 2. It's in the background and it's kind of flying in. Um, Whether you want to say it's the Millennium Falcon at the time, or it was named something, or just someone else's YT 1300, it's always open for debate. But trying to show that these ships are out there at different times and that, so we get to see a wide variety of vessels. With that, thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next video.